My name is Heather and I am the Reading Mama. Today I'm going to share with you a couple of middle grade March picks for my actual middle grade children. So as I've said in some other videos, I have 8 children, 7 daughters and 1 son. My son is only 3. And so a lot of my recommendations for children and family read alouds are going to be geared towards girls. However, not always. And reason I want to say that is because when I was in college learning about how to choose books and read aloud to children, one of the caveats they give us was choose books geared towards boys, don't choose books that are geared towards girls, because if you have a mixture, girls will go along for the ride. They don't really care usually. But boys, they kind of want boy stories. Do I find this true? Yes and no. Certain things, yes. If you have a struggling reader, then they're a boy or a girl, they're going to want something that is gender specific to them until they get into it. If you have a child who's passionate about reading, in general, they're going to love them. However, that said, I have 2 girls who are complete bookworms, love them, but they have both gotten to a point where they were like, too many boy books. I need some girls. And part of that was Robert Louis Stevenson kind of was a drag for them. And so but then I have 2 other girls who Robinson Crusoe was their favorite book. So, it's hit or miss. You got to kind of know your child. But if you are reading, generally, Anne of Green Gables isn't going to be for everyone necessarily. But, Old Yeller, which is very boyish, is going to be for everyone. Unless you have seen the movie, in which case the book tells you what the ending on the very first sentence. Just as note. But I digress. All that to say is we're getting ready for middle grade March, and I love middle grade March. I read a lot of middle grade books with all these kids because I try to read what my kids are reading and know what they're getting into. So today I asked my kids, go to the shelves, find me your favorite books that you would recommend to a 4th, 5th, 6th grade child. And I'm going to tell them to you in reverse age order of my kids. So I'm going to start with my oldest. My oldest is 15, super big bookworm, and she picked the last book on the shelf that I thought she would pick. She picked Tom's Midnight Garden. Now, Tom's Midnight Garden, I asked her, why do you like that? Because frankly, she did not like this when I picked it up and got really angry with me for the first several chapters. And we were doing an audiobook, so this was an audible. Why are we reading this? This is weird. What is going on? And she was very vehement about it. That said, she said this was her top pick. Why? Because it's weird. In this story, you follow, it is, how do I do this? There's some time travel. It's very Narnia-esque in that they go through the grandfather clock and they travel through time, but he can only do it at certain times and certain ways and to a certain place. And you have some just really great friendships and really good stories. I had a little bit of Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates episodes in there. I had a couple of Narnia kind of feels. It's sweet, it's fun. Funny thing is, in college, this is one of the books that my teachers recommended us do with kids, and I was like, nah, I don't like that book. And so I do find it pretty funny that my daughter loved that. This particular daughter also said she didn't like Robinson Crusoe, and then it was her favorite book for the longest time. So let that know, if you have a kid who's not fully loving a book, maybe push through and make them keep going. They may end up hating it, but they may come back and say, that was my favorite book. Sometimes we love a challenge. So Tom's Midnight Garden is a great middle grade choice. It's not super thick. There is, if you be careful when you do audiobooks of it, because there was a dramatized version that takes out some of the narration, and that makes me sad when they do that. But the book, I think, is wonderful. So check that out. Then I asked my 13-year-old, and she gave me 2 actually. So I'll pop a picture up here of her personal favorite, which is City Spies. She absolutely loves City Spies. There's another new book that just came out this month, or maybe it comes out this week. No, it came out earlier this month. So far, I think there's 6 of them. And in this, you have these misfit orphan children who have basically been accumulated by MI6 and are now spies. And they're called City Spies because each of them takes a code name based on the city that they're from. I read the first one. I absolutely loved it. I have not continued the series. My oldest kids have and love it. It's fun. There's a lot of literature name drops in there, a lot of other things. The first time I read the first one, I think the first page or 2, it mentions something about why can't I think of who it is? it's two great authors, and it says that they were actually spies. And I was like, what? And so I immediately had to drop what I was doing and start researching it. And so it was a phenomenal book. They're fun. They're fast paced. They have some, I mean, you have to obviously suspend logic because you have children being spies for a national government. But it is a lot of fun, and they're very fast paced. James Ponti does a great job. We've read a couple of his other books, but we really love The City Spies. This child also recommended Green Ember, which all of my kids would recommend, and she gave me Ember's End, which is the fourth book, but which is her favorite, obviously. But I think it's funny. The reason I am including this, even though I was only going to do one per kid, is because we have a friend, and if you're watching this, friend, no, we love you. They were like, I don't know, maybe not a book about rabbits. Thanks. And I think we recommended it maybe 5 or 6 times, many times. And then they finally came to our house and looked through it a little bit more, and they were like, and now that child, that dear friend, she is obsessed, and I love it. I love it. She had a Green Ember birthday. She had a Green Ember Valentine that we got last week. She loves Green Ember. Her brother loves Green Ember. It's a whole thing. If you don't know the story of Green Ember, I've talked about it a lot. Audiobooks are phenomenal. It's a 4-book series. There's some prequels that are novellas, and then there is a new book, which is a prequel about one of the characters in the original series. And this story is a fantasy story with some Christian themes. And it is, you follow these rabbits. So you have the rabbits, and you have the birds of prey and the wolves, and they are obviously at odds. There is a lot. This book particularly, I talked to my husband about, because it gets pretty deep into some government authority issues, and what you think of the world, what's right, what's wrong, moral things, along with all the adventure fantasy stuff. I mean, there's a dragon at one point, there's sword fights, there's epic battles, there's all these amazing things, and it's good for girls and boys because you follow 2 main characters. Heather, which, yes, that's my name. And I almost never read books with my name in it. And I was like, hey, look, it's my name. But Heather, she's the oldest, and she has a beautiful, sweet arc. But then also her brother, Pickett, has a wonderful arc. So these characters in here are phenomenal. We have another friend, though, who did start reading this book. And one of the characters, I'm going to just tell you, one of the characters, it seems like he's dead. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. He's not. Keep reading. Don't give up. We have a friend who gave up on the 3rd book because she thought somebody had died. And it was heartbreaking. It was like, no, you have to keep reading. So we definitely love Green Ember, if you can't tell. Next up, I asked my 12-and-a-half-year-old, and she recommended this book that my mom got her for Christmas, The Feather Chase. And she said what she loved about it is that it is they're cousin detectives. So crime-solving cousin mysteries. And I think it's a duology maybe. It's very sweet, very clean. It's really at her pace. She's a little bit slower reader, so she really enjoyed that. But she really loved the 2 cousins, Sophie and Jessica, and she loved just the mystery aspect. It gives you a way to solve crime, very Nancy Drew-esque, without the Nancy Drew-esque, if you know what I mean. And so it's fun, it's sweet, it's a great mystery. And then last, I have my 10-year-old's recommendation. I saved hers for last because one of the books in the series is actually going to be one of the books I'm reading next month. So I've talked about it before, but the Restorationist Series by, I'm so sorry, Carolyn, I still don't know how to say your last name. And I love this series. Love, love, love. There are 3 books now, and they are phenomenal. And they have some, of course, when you look for it, it's never where you want it to be. There's some artwork, like randomly, like a little paintbrush. Every now and then you might get a picture of the characters or something like that. The artwork is beautiful, but it's kind of hit or miss. So what happens in these books? Let me see here. It had very much Book Wanderers vibes, if you know what I'm talking about, because what they're going to do is, rather than in Book Wanderers where they travel through the books, here they can travel into the art. And you have the Restorationists, and you have the, why can I never remember? The Distortionists. And the Restorationists and the Distortionists are at odds. The Distortionists are trying to rule the world, destroy the world, kind of create anarchy. And they do it subtly by changing artwork and modifying it. So like one of the art pieces had Nazi symbols, the swastika kind of like put in very tiny so that the average person can't see it when they look at the art. They don't see that it has been distorted, but they start to have emotions that vibe with whatever the distortion is, whether it's dark and creepy or sinister or whatever. And the Restorationist jobs is to go back and fix that, right? And so they're at odds with each other. Well, that's the big story. And this story, we start out with Vincent, and he has been sent to live with his uncle. I feel like it's his uncle, not his grandpa. Great uncle. He's an older man. He's a family member. I think it's great uncle though. And Vincent doesn't know anything about the Restorationists. He doesn't know anything about the Distortionists. He knows he used to really love art and he used to love painting, but then some people at school made fun of him and he realized maybe I'm not a great artist. Maybe I don't want to do this. I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to take a chance. I don't want any part of it. And so he's there with his grandfather, who is a actual restorationist for museums. Like, he restores old paintings and things like that. And he's tempted kind of by the artwork over and over. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And while he's there, he meets his cousin, Georgia. Georgia knows about the Restorationists and Distortionists, and she knows how to travel into the paintings. And long story short, they end up traveling through the paintings, and Vincent learns about this world. Well, while that's going on, there are big things happening. And that whole dichotomy between the Restorationists and Distortionists has come to a head, and it is crazy. There's bedlam. Children are being kidnapped. The world is kind of chaotic, and they jump into this whole mystery, and it's got a little bit of action, but not like, sword fight action, just normal action. Like, we're running away from bad guys, and the children are kidnapped at one point, and then there's a family twist in there, and it's just phenomenal. So we loved this book as they travel into the paintings, because what they do is they can travel into the paintings and then travel into the mind of the artist, and that's the hallway that they go out of the painting into the hallway, which is the mind of the artist, into, not like in their mind, but like the memory of them, and they can go to the artist's other artwork and things like that, and so they can travel through artwork and then come out wherever that artwork is. So it's a whole spiel. But what I love is when they're traveling, the pages, and I don't know if you can see it in this light, but it changes gradient. So here they're just there, and now they're in the hallway, so they're in the gray, and things like that. And so here they fall into something, big cliffhanger there, but it is really phenomenal. And the second book, so the first book focuses on Vincent, and yes, he's named after Vincent van Gogh. That's why we got the Starry Night there going on, and you got a lot of Vincent van Gogh mentions in there. The next book is The Flower and the Bones, and that was also really good, and that follows Georgia's story, who is Vincent's cousin, and that is really good. It gets a little more intense, not too much. These are definitely not too intense, but you follow Georgia, who's named after Georgia O'Keeffe, and you go through a lot of Georgia O'Keeffe paintings, but you go through all these other paintings, and my kids really love it, and we look up the paintings. There's always a reference guide at the back of the paintings and where they're currently at when this was published, as well as things like stolen paintings yet to be recovered, and things like that. And so they really enjoyed that. Georgia is the next book, and the book I'm hoping to read is the third book, which came out last fall, which is Beyond the Far Horizon, which follows Ravi, who is a boy who had been working with the Distortionists. And so I am excited to see what happens in this next installment of this book. And one of these days, I really will learn how to say your name, Carolyn, because we love your books, and I'm really excited for it. So those are my kids' recommendations, favorite middle grade recommendations. Ooh, there we go. And so thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about any of these, let me know, and have a blessed day.